I'm so grateful for this opportunity to speak to you today. I have a really interesting topic. I found a great YouTube video of Alan Watts reading Carl Jung, and it has been really, really amazing for me to witness this and to observe it as I have been, um, thinking about this for quite some time. So I'm super grateful to have this opportunity to speak to you about this. And I am just welcoming everybody as you start to settle in. Thank you for lending us, as Aretha Franklin said, lend me your soul for a minute, and I'll be sure to give it back to you. Right? That's what we're talking about here, is just to lend us your consciousness for a moment. And I'm happy and excited to share with you all that's going on here at Rythmia and in here in my head. Crazy place to be is in your head. So I'm so grateful. Thank you all for joining us. And this is Walking the Path. And today's topic on Carl Jung and ending our own civil war is something that I've really, really been interested in. So I wanted to share with you a little bit, first of all, about Rythmia, and then talk to you about Carl Jung. So Carl Jung, Rythmia. Let's talk about Rythmia. So I want to let you know about what's going on at Rythmia. We're open. Our retreats are going beautifully. We have at Rythmia right now amazing protocols for COVID. I know there's a big concern out there for COVID, and the protocols that we have in place are 400% above anything else that anybody's doing. The first piece is that we actually give you a COVID test before you come on property. That's the coolest thing, is that we give you a test before you come on property, and you know that then when you enter, everybody's been tested, and then it becomes a little bubble and you can have your own retreat like it was pre-COVID. It's really amazing. And then we do temperature checks following up twice daily, and for employees and for staff as well. So everybody's tested before they come in. The next thing is there's a new ruling by the CDC that says that you have to have a PCR test to get back into the United States, or any country, really. I think UK and Canada are the same. They're requiring you to have a PCR test before you come back in. Well, we got you covered. We actually have an arrangement, since we're a medically licensed facility and we have a lab on property. We have an arrangement with the special lab in San Jose, and we can actually do your PCR test on property during the course of your stay, and you'll have it when you go to the airport to get onto your plane. So it's great. I just want you to know we have you covered. We got you covered. Now, hey, Danny, what's up, brother? I think it's you and me, man. I'm so glad you're here. I want to share with you about something that's been really, really on my heart and mind. I came across this video of Alan Watts reading Carl Jung. And it's reading a Carl Jung letter to a group of clergymen in Switzerland. This has to be in the late 1800s, early 1900s, I'm thinking, like many years ago. And he's writing about ending your own civil war. I thought this was so profound for the state that we're in right now, for my own state, and as practitioners of spiritual principle, right? How we deal with others that might have opposing views, whether it's spiritual, political, emotional, life views, right? So this is what's so interesting for me. Carl Jung writes that feeling comes through unprejudiced objectivity. Feeling comes through unprejudiced objectivity. So I can't even break the code to get into where my lover, my brother, my sister, my friend, my enemy, I can't even get into their head if I am not unprejudiced objectively, right? This is huge. This is huge. Someone came out of ceremony one time and said, freedom is observation without judgment. And I thought, that's an amazing thing. That's exactly what Carl Jung is talking about. That we, as a spiritual practitioner or as someone you're engaged with in conversation, if I'm judging them, whether it's said overtly or not, they're feeling that. And my judgment and my opinion about the other person or about the political or national situation, excuse me, does not liberate. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. Now, I want to take a little parentheses here for a minute and say that there's a couple of different planes that we work on, right? There's the spiritual realm where everything is unfolding in divine perfection. There's the mental realm where we might call it the noosphere. It's the congealed ideas and thoughts of all of us kind of create this noosphere of mass mind. And then there's our own mental thinking, right? That's within that. And then there's the physical plane where, like, if you walk in front of a bus, you're going to get hit. There's some real physical things. So there's the spiritual, the mental, and the physical. Let's just say, there's probably many, many more planes than that. But for our purposes today, let's talk about those three. So on the spiritual level, I can know what Carl Jung's talking about. I can know that I must be open and available without judgment or opinion in order to see the truth. Ram Dass says, if you want to know the truth, give up your judgments and opinions. Now that's in the spiritual realm, and that might even be in the mental realm. Now in the physical material world, we have to make judgments and opinions. We have to make discernments. I have to decide, can I cross the street now or not? Right? I've got to have a judgment and an opinion about that, right? So judgment and opinion have their place. Now, in terms of what we're talking about politically, that also comes into play. I can know, given the current situation, that there's an unfolding of divine, that it is all divine will, and that something good is emerging, no matter what the appearance is. I can know on a mental level that I have to be free from judgment and opinion if I want to understand something about what's going on. And then in the material and physical world, there are consequences to our actions, and we all have to abide by the law of consequence, right? That is the truth. There's laws, and it doesn't matter what your moral or political or spiritual state is. The law of buoyancy is going to support you, whether you're a saint or a sinner, right? It doesn't matter. It's a lawful universe. Law of gravity works for everybody. And so does the law that we're talking about here, which is this truth of reciprocity and how things move in the material world. So Carl Jung writes that feeling, this is about ending our own civil war. And I want to hear, for the few folks that are on here right now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Feeling comes only through unprejudiced objectivity. It's a human quality, a deep respect for the facts that whatever the other person is going through is real to them. Right? No matter whatever, if I'm dealing with someone with a neurosis or a psychosis, right? What they're experiencing is real to them, no matter what my opinions and judgments are. And I have to believe on a spiritual level that spirit has brought all things to pass, that it is really divine will, that what's unfolding is unfolding in divine perfection. And it is the unseen presence of divine will that it is all unfolding in perfection. And unprejudiced objectivity is moral. It's a moral achievement to be unprejudiced in our views of what's occurring in life. Now, again, remember, on the material plane, we have to have some judgments and opinions and some prejudices in terms of, like, how, not prejudice, but judgments and opinions about making decisions like, is this a good thing for me to do? Should I walk across the street now? There's a bus coming. Maybe I should wait. I got to have an opinion about that, right? But we should not let ourselves be repelled by another's sickness or corruption, right? This is the key. This is what I mean by unprejudiced objectivity. In other words, I have to look at the thing just as it is, whatever's happening, without my opinions and judgments, in order to get to the truth. I can't change anything unless I'm willing to accept it. Now, I don't mean accept it like condone it, but I mean accept what's so, and to be present enough to see the truth somewhere in there, right? So if I wish to help another, especially when I'm talking about self-improvement or helping another in a spiritual way, if I want to be of service, if I wish to help another person, I have to accept that person or this situation just as he or she or it is. This can only be done if we accept ourselves. This can only be done if we accept ourselves. This is the key. Hola, hermano, el tapatío de Jalisco, bienvenidos. Estoy muy agradecido que estás aquí, hermana Nanette, con nosotros. Bienvenidos. So we can never help another. We can never change a situation if we are not accepting ourselves. I can't accept what's going on and see something with unprejudiced objectivity unless I've already done the inner work of accepting myself. It seems so simple, right? It's so simple. How can I see peace out in the world if I'm not at peace with myself? Super simple, right? But the simple things are the most difficult. It requires a great art to be simple. Acceptance of oneself is the essence of morality. And what Jung calls the acid test of one's life, right? An acid test is a conclusive test of success or value of something, right? So the acid test, the conclusive test of the success or value of our lives lies in our own ability to accept ourselves, forgive an insult, to what I do, these simple truths, what I do unto others, I do unto the Buddha consciousness, the Christ consciousness, I do unto all. We're all connected, right? But what if I discover that the worst of what I see out in the world, of all the things that I condemn out in the world, what if I discover that all those things are within me? That's the key, right? What if I discover that I'm the one that's in need of my own loving kindness, that the enemy that I must love is within? What if it's the brother within us that I must love, the sister within us? We hide the darkness within ourselves. This is why condemnation does not heal. Condemnation does not liberate. Condemnation oppresses, right? Because it's denying the fact that the very thing that I'm seeing out there is within me. Otherwise, I couldn't see it. So we have to come to terms, if we are looking to heal the world, if we're looking to heal our relationships, if we're looking to heal our work situation, if we're looking to heal our home life, we must come within ourselves and make amends with our own darkness, with the worst and most corruptive aspects that we are condemning out there that are within us. Now, again, I'm not saying that real things on the material realm don't deserve to be held accountable, right? Like their accountability is the law of reciprocity, that there is a pendulum that swings, and just as much as this pendulum swings in one way, it's going to swing in the other. So there's going to be, for every action, there is an equal reaction. That is Newtonian law. So this is really healing myself, is what we're talking about. And healing myself is really a religious, or spiritual rather, not religious, it's a spiritual issue. And it's the same in national relationships or civil war. To be cured by forgiveness and love of one's enemy, we must apply this inwardly. So again, I'm not saying what occurred, what's occurring, not to say, oh, we're just supposed to say everything's okay and it's all good and I love everybody. We must deal with it within ourselves first. That's really the piece. That loving kindness, that forgiveness, that must come first within us. And then we see clearly and objectively what the next steps in the exterior world are. We have heard enough about guilt and sin, about how we can reconcile ourselves, love thy enemy, all of those things. We have to do it. The enemy is within. The enemy is within. We think that our own individual lives are God's own will that must be fulfilled at all costs. This is the height of egoism. And by saying that to another person, you're egoistic or you're misleading, you're misled, this just causes more division. I'm forced to acknowledge that everything is the will of the higher presence. I'm forced to acknowledge that everything is unfolding in divine perfection. And here's how I know that. Here's a little joke for you. There's an old saying that says, time heals all wounds. Time heals all wounds. The reverse of that is time wounds all heals, right? They say if you're a jerk, you're a heel, right? So time wounds all heals. Time heals all wounds, and time wounds all heals. And so, yes, Nanette, absolutely. Interviewing of the self is the first to transmute what's happening around each of us. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Estamos de acuerdo completamente, hermana. So look, there are consequences, right? So somebody does something and there are consequences. And this is why pointing out somebody's faults isn't necessarily going to be of service, because the law of life is going to take care of that. Look what's happening right now. There's consequences that are happening in the state capital, or in the nation's capital. And things will be parsed out and leveled out, not necessarily by people, but in the greater scheme of things in life. Because anybody's own individualistic and egoistic will, if they're so hell-bent on their egoistic will, there will be consequences. They will be isolated and they will be alone. And this aloneness is actually the strongest and healthiest power, however wretched it may seem for each of us when we're in our alone time, our loneliness, the dark night of the soul, and it seems so wretched. This is the healing power. This is why at Rythmia we say, the medicine wants you hungry, angry, lonely, tired, confused, upset, mad, all of that stuff. The medicine wants you in those places because that's where the healing occurs, right? This is our most, our healthiest power is when we get to know ourselves. It's the only state of it's in the state of complete abandonment and loneliness that we experience the healing powers of our own nature. This is where the medicine wants us to be. And in this way, we begin to see that what we first thought was good is actually bad, and what we thought was bad was actually good. Carl Jung calls this enantiodrama, enantiodromia. It's a Greek word that means opposite. Opposites running their course. And it's a principle that was founded by Carl Jung. And I'm going to read this to you because it's so profound. Jung defines enantiodromia as the emergence of the unconscious opposite in the course of time. It is similar to the principle of equilibrium in the natural world, in that any extreme is opposed by the system in order to restore balance. When things get to their extreme, they turn into their opposite. Jung adds that this characteristic phenomena practically always occurs when an extreme or one-sided tendency dominates conscious life. In time, an equally powerful counterposition is built up, which first inhibits the consciousness to the conscious performance, and subsequently breaks through the conscious control. So literally, the law of equilibrium says that if we go to an extreme in one part in our lives and one part in our culture, that there's going to be an automatic force, the force of the divine, the force of life, the laws of the universe will restore balance, order, and harmony. So this is what we are talking about. And this also falls into the Kabbalion. The Kabbalion states that everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. So we can know that in the external world, there is a law of compensation, a law of rhythm, a law of equilibrium, things are going to balance out. And now that frees us up to do our inner work, to do the inner work with our own dark side, with our own wretchedness within us, the things that we condemn and hate about ourselves. This is the time that we get to look within and to do that inner work so that we can objectively perceive reality. and know ourselves to be at peace and end our own civil war. Well, I'm so grateful for this time together. I'm so grateful that we had this time, and I appreciate all of you. I'm sending you many blessings, and I'm hoping that we have another opportunity to be together. Again, I hope that you'll join me. I'll be here. I hope you join me on Mondays and Thursdays at noon Pacific time. Peace and richest blessings. Thank you.